Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Myself, Mariam. Today, I would like to talk on a very interesting topic of therapeutic diets. It's because we encounter these diets almost every day, and it's good to have a brief history on these diets. Why are they used, or what's the critical factors these diets are suggested, so we get a good gist of why such diets have so and so food items. So to introduce, many health conditions are caused in part by what we eat. For example, health conditions like diabetes or obesity, which are major pandemic in the world, it's caused because of the food choices we make. We consume foods high in junk, sugar, as well as sodium, fats, and so on. And that's how our health conditions get deteriorated. And that's where therapeutic diets come in picture. They're special diets designed for people with certain medical conditions. They help with the recovery from illness as well as prevention of diseases. They are tailored in such a way to fit the nutrition needs of a particular person. So these kind of diets are a modification of regular diets, and they are modified for nutrients, texture, food allergies, or food intolerances. These kind of diets are prescribed by physician and planned by dietitian. They serve many purposes. They regulate the amount of food, they assist body organs to maintain normal function, they help in digestion, they improve health conditions, they manage body weight, they meet the metabolic needs of human body, they prevent dehydration, they improve the appetite as well as provide good amount of proteins, carbs, and fats. These are the kind of diets which we deal with almost every day, and we'll go through them very briefly. So clear fluid, this diet is followed in the case of any illness or surgery, and when the patient cannot eat food at all and it results in nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, that's where the decision comes to restrict the intake of food, and that's where physician or dietitian recommends clear fluid. This diet is actually given to quench the thirst as well as to help in the removal of gas. So the uses of this diet is before the operation or before any examination of the colon, which is in the intestines, during the post-operative period, let's say after operation, in the case of surgery, abdominal surgery, surgery of the stomach, in the case of acute gastroenteritis, inflammation of the stomach as well as the intestines, or simply in the case of temporary food intolerance. So you can see in the pictures there is example of jellies, water, black coffee, or clear vegetable broth. These are the recommendations for clear liquid diet. In the case of clear liquid diet, this diet doesn't provide good amount of nutrients. So this diet is deficient in proteins, carbs, vitamins, nutrients. So we don't recommend that this diet for more than 1 or 2 days. And after 2 days, we should proceed with the next transition of the diet. But in this case, this diet is given usually at 1 or 2 hour of intervals. So you can see the examples of clear fluid, clear liquid diet, which we give. Let's say in our facility, we commonly give jelly as well as apple juice with clear vegetable broth. Full liquid diet. Now this is the next transition after clear liquid, and this is the second step, and it's given as good amount of nutrition to the patient, which has to be maintained by fluid for considerable time, or patients who are heavily reliant on tube feeding. The uses are the same as the clear liquid, that is before the operation or after the operation, where the patient cannot tolerate When, let's say, there are conditions where the patient cannot tolerate food, or let's say the case of some surgery in the face or the neck area, or also when the patient has chewing or swallowing problems. This is the examples of liquid diet, including milk, broth or soup, ice cream, custard, or vegetable-based soups or juices. Mashed puree diet is the next transition after fluid. Now these foods are foods that have been pureed or mashed in such a way that they have this creamy texture and it can be easily swallowed. Examples are mashed potato, apple puree, puddings, and so on. They're used for people who have difficulty chewing or swallowing. And in this diet, it's usually nuts, seeds, raw veggies, and raw fruits are avoided unless these vegetables or fruits can be pureed. Soft diet. Now this is the transition, I would say the last transition from after clear liquid, fluid, pureed, and then we come to soft diet. Now this is used in the case of acute infections after surgery or for patients who again cannot chew or swallow food. The soft diet is made up of mainly simple and easily digestible food and should not contain too much fiber, because that could also create bulk in the intestine or too much work for the intestine to digest the fiber. So this diet is recommended for patients who have chewing or swallowing difficulties, they have dental problems, or in the case of elderly, maybe their teeth are not strong enough to digest regular food, so soft diet is recommended. We already discussed the use of soft diet. Maybe it could be before the operation, after operation, let's say in the case of diarrhea or infection. So this kind of diet includes foods like pasta, mashed potato, or even custard, or anything soft, which is easy to digest. Okay, now we move on to the real therapeutic diets, and we'll start with the iron-rich diet. This is usually recommended for patients who have anemia and they need this kind of diet, which should provide important nutrients for the formation of red blood cells or hemoglobin. Foods recommended: mainly animal-based products, meat, eggs, or when it comes to plant-based foods, it's spinach, dates, beets, orange juice, and so on. Sodium restricted diet or low salt diet. Now in this diet, sodium might be completely restricted or little. Salt is added to food. So the restriction of sodium depends on the severity of the condition, and this diet is recommended for patients who might have heart problems, let's say in the case of hypertension, or kidney diseases where salt or sodium intake must be restricted. So these are the food items you need to completely limit yourself from consuming too much, and they include pizzas, which has especially pepperoni, which is super high in sodium. It can surprisingly also be found in breads and rolls. Then we come on to processed meats like sausages, mortadella, and so on. Snacks like chips, burgers, patties, cheese, chicken nuggets, pasta, where the sauce has good amount of sodium, the tomato sauce, other food items, and also packed soups and noodles or canned products. Surprisingly, sodium can also be found in other food items like gravies and even soy sauce and pickles. So all these food items must be restricted. Low fat diet or fat restricted diet. Now this diet is also recommended for patients who have conditions like obesity or liver problems or gallbladder disease or heart disease. In this diet, the carbohydrates is increased as well as the protein amounts are increased and the fat amount is restricted. In this diet, you need to avoid certain food items like full fat dairy products, fried food items, or even salad dressings, maybe uh, dressings made from mayonnaise, mustard, and so on. So healthy food items like rice, bread, fruits, vegetables, pulses, lentils are recommended. Diabetic diet, very common diet in our facility. What happens is in diabetes mellitus, the body cannot produce enough insulin to regulate the blood sugar level, and that's why our purpose is to provide diabetic diet with good carb counting, so the patient is kept in good health condition and his or her blood sugar level is within the normal range. In diabetic diet, the diet needs to be balanced, but of course restriction of refined carbs, like say biscuits, sugar, sweets, jams, or honey, which is high amount of consumption of this should be restricted. So this is a very nice example through a picture which shows how the calories are distributed between carbs, protein, and fat. Let's say in this case 1600 calories can be divided between let's say 40 to 45 grams of protein can be given, 250 grams of carbs can be given, and 15 grams of fats can be given in the case of a diabetic patient. These kind of calculations are done by the dietitian, and it's just our job to follow it through the portion size. Now this will just I will just explain briefly on what glycemic index is and how we choose the right foods to manage blood sugar level. Now glycemic index is actually a scale and it ranks carbohydrates by how much they can raise blood sugar level compared to a reference food. The reference food in this case is a bread which has a glycemic index of 100. That's the maximum. So you can see the scale below. Low glycemic index means the food is ranked between the numbers 0 to 55, moderate between 56 to 69, and high is 70 or more. So in this case, our aim is to choose foods that are low in glycemic index, which fall between 0 to 55. Here you can see the food items and their glycemic index. Let's say apple has a glycemic index of 38, so it falls below 55, and this could be a good fruit for diabetic patients. Whereas mango has a glycemic index of 58, so it falls under moderate glycemic index, so it might not be apple is actually a better option, let's say, compared to mango. And that's how we rate food based on glycemic index. But there is something known as glycemic load. This is another scale and it's known to be far more accurate as well as more reliable than compared to glycemic index. And this load actually includes how much carbs in a serving can actually increase the blood sugar level. Anyways, using both these scales, we determine the foods that will normalize your blood sugar level, because there are certain foods that can hike or increase blood sugar level and might not be very recommended for diabetic patient. So based on this, we come up with a good breakfast, lunch, and dinner for diabetic patients. After all these calculations as well as comparison by dietitian. Now you can see the picture. The typical breakfast for diabetic patient should be the one in the right side, where you can see the glycemic index overall is lower and glycemic load is also lower. So the lower number in the scale would mean the better the food is at managing blood sugar level. So you can see bran flakes is recommended and a better option when compared to simple refined carbs of simple cornflakes, which are made of refined carbs. You can also see strawberries, which has a better option than banana, as well as apple juice and skim milk. So all this is based on comparison between scales and the immense research which has been done on what normalizes blood sugar level comparatively. And of course, they are high in fiber, the one on the right. Now, protein diet, high protein diet. Now, the average protein intake should be between 70 to 75 to 100 grams per day in the case of adults only. But there are instances where protein intake might not be sufficient, and that's where this diet comes in the picture. So as you can see in the image, dairy products as well as animal proteins are highly recommended for this diet. So the use of this diet is when you see children and adolescents, they're still growing and they need good amount of protein for additional growth. This diet is also recommended for pregnant or lactating women, as well as in cases before and after surgery. And it's also recommended for burns, where you need good amount of protein to for the new development of the skin cells, as well as in certain infectious conditions like tuberculosis, where the patient is actually losing protein at a high rate. Protein-rich foods include meat, fish, milk, cheese, poultry, dal, soybeans, and groundnuts. High-calorie diet used for patients who are underweight or who have other conditions like cancer. In high-calorie diet, it's suggested not to eat high amount of fiber, which may stop you from consuming other high nutrient, high calorie foods. But of course, everything is encouraged as long as you eat and enjoy. Avoid high fat foods such as fried foods, rich pastries and cheesecakes and all those kind of foods, because these kind of foods are high in fat and they will digest slowly and it will give you a feeling of fullness. So in this case, the patient may not be able to consume other good options or better options of nutrient rich foods, which are also high in calories. Low residue diet. This kind of diet is used for patients who have digestive and rectal diseases, let's say in the case of in colon, or let's say the patient has diarrhea. Now this diet limits food that are high in fiber, let's say in the case of fruits and veggies. It also inhibits foods with, let's say, whole grains and cereals, nuts, seeds, beans and peas and coconut and fried food. So all these foods are restricted. Low residue diet means diet rich in refined carbs, so they're easy to digest. Bland diet. This diet is also, the main purpose is so that it gets digested in the system easily, and it's free from substances that may irritate our gut, that is the lining of our stomach as well as intestine. We don't want any irritation to happen in those areas, because again, the patient might have undergone surgery, patient might have undergone operation in the gut area, so it's better to avoid triggering that area through, let's say in the case of spicy food, or in the case of high fat foods or fried foods or processed foods, let's say the case of chocolates or coffee. Everything should be restricted, as well as foods which are high in spices or chili. Light diet. This diet must be given on an hourly basis, let's say 2 hours interval, and this diet must be light as the name suggests. simply being comprised of glucose, milk, water, toast, oatmeal, and so on. The purpose is to rebuild body tissues, as well as by providing the extra protein must be given. So example of light diet includes milk, egg, curd, toast, fruits, and soups. Anything heavy must be avoided, which includes fried foods or diets containing fiber. Because again, the patient might only be able to tolerate light food. Anti-diarrheal diet. Diarrhea can increase the frequency of loose or watery stools. It can occur in the case of infectious conditions, let's say food poisoning, or in other conditions which involves anything involving colon, maybe inflammation of the colon and so on. So in this diet, we follow the brat diet. Brat diet is banana, rice, apple, and toast. This diet must also be high in fluids to replace the fluids lost through the body through diarrhea, as well as to replace electrolytes, let's say glucose, sodium chloride, and so on. Fluids should be given on regular intervals, and this is the brat diet. List of foods for diarrhea. Encouraged diet: banana, rice, apple, toast, boiled potatoes, crackers, oatmeal, boiled egg. Why we encourage this for diarrhea? Because anyways your gut is already in a state of restlessness, there's diarrhea happening, it's inflamed. So these are calming foods. They are low residue, they don't have too much fiber. Little fiber means, or having no fiber means, it's easy to digest, so it's calming for the gut. Now there is high fiber diet. So all this time we've been seeing to reduce fiber so that the body can digest the food. But there are instances where you might need high fiber. So this diet is prescribed in the prevention or treatment of gastrointestinal, cardiovascular, and metabolic diseases. And this diet must include fruits and veggies, as well as legumes, whole grain bread, and cereals. Lactation diet. Breastfeeding builds strong emotional bond with the baby, and it enables faster postpartum weight loss. The right diet in the right amounts is extremely crucial for the well-being of the lactating mother, and hence this diet must include actually everything which is nutrient rich and loaded with calories. So protein rich healthy fats loaded with vitamins and mineral rich foods in the daily diet is encouraged. The diet actually will encourage good production of the milk also. Now this is not very strict because the research is still inconclusive, but overall the foods that can be avoided while breastfeeding, the must avoiding foods are alcohol. Yes, you have to avoid that at all costs, or at least limit. Tea, coffee, better to limit. And high mercury fish, better to limit. You can go for other fish options. High mercury fish includes fishes like mackerel, swordfish, as well as let's say the other one could be shark and tilefish. So these kind of fish has very high amount of mercury levels. These kind of fish should be avoided, but you can go for other options, let's say sardines or salmon. So these could be other good options. You can have these fish, a mother can consume them 2 to 3 times in a week. Peanuts can be avoided, or any other allergens can be avoided if the baby is showing discomfort or some negative reaction. Then the mother might avoid it. Spicy food, again it depends. Peppermint, large quantities of peppermint are known to stop or limit the production of milk. But again, that involves very large amount of peppermint consumption, which is not feasible in this case, because drinking 1 cup of peppermint tea in a day won't do anything. Gas inducing foods: if the baby shows discomfort, then probably it's due to these kind of food items. But again, as I said, research is inconclusive. Overall, mother is encouraged to consume all kinds of food that are nutrient rich and calorie rich, but the 3 foods that she needs to limit or avoid are alcohol, tea, coffee, or high mercury fish. And that's that to the conclusion. Low purine diet. Purine is actually a byproduct of whatever food item we take. But if purine gets accumulated in our knees or elbows or whichever area, it can result in severe pain. So in this diet or low purine diet, we need to reduce the intake of uric acid producing foods. Purine breaks to uric acid in our body, and this uric acid crystals can cause extensive pain, known as the gout disease, and causes inflammation to the body. That's why this diet is recommended, and it's used for patients with high uric acid retention, uric acid, renal stones, and gout. What is encouraged in this diet is fruits, veggies, whole grains, low-fat dairy, legumes, and nuts. What you must eat less is shellfish, organ meats, alcoholic beverages, and soft drinks. So basically, in gout disease, we avoid high-fat dairy as well. Lactose-free diet. Simply, this diet is recommended for patients who have lactose intolerance. For those people who have lactose intolerance, it can lead to gas, bloating, cramping, diarrhea, as well as discomfort. So this diet involves avoidance of dairy products. Instead, you can swap them with plant-based products, as shown at the picture. You can see butter can be swapped with any vegetable oil. Milk can be swapped with almond milk or coconut milk, and cream cheese can be swapped with let's say some other plant-based cheese, and milk chocolate can be swapped with dark chocolate. Gluten-free diet. This diet recommended for patients who have gluten intolerance or gluten insensitivity or wheat allergy, or simply celiac disease. So it becomes very important to avoid gluten-based products like wheat, rye, barley, oats. Gluten-free options are encouraged, and they include, let's say, options like buckwheat, legumes, rice, quinoa, as well as millet and popcorn. Also, you can use potato flour or starch as a great gluten-free option. And that marks the end of our therapeutic diets. So why did we go through all this? What's the conclusion? What's our aim? What's the purpose of knowing all this? Of course, we have a huge role to play when it comes to catering to therapeutic diets. The core essence of therapeutic diets lies in its ability to cater to individual nutritional requirements. This level of personalization was overseen by an interdisciplinary team of therapeutic dietitians, catering, and other food service staff. And hence, we as a team must ensure that the dietary plan aligns perfectly with the patient's health conditions and dietary needs. Hence, it is us, and we will drive the improvement through food and drink services that are good in quality, safe, nutritionally adequate, patient-focused, and has a good value for money. So we are the ones who will, provide therapeutic diet as per the patient condition and ensure the patient satisfaction to our meals. And that's that. Thank you so much for your attention. We will have a short quiz after this, and I hope all of you can fill it out. And that's it. See you inshallah in the next lecture. Thank you.